Hello friends, in this video we are going to discuss how to deploy ASP .NET Web Application through AWS ECS Fargate. Generally we deploy containerized applications through a service in AWS called ECS, Elastic Container Service. And we deploy our applications, containerized applications by following the two approaches. One is AWS EC2 and the second one is Fargate. So the difference between EC2 and Fargate is serverless, whereas EC2 has servers. Has servers means Fargate will also have servers, but EC2 we have to maintain those servers, whereas coming to Fargate we don't need to bother about the servers. AWS will take care of the servers. Servers means what? Ultimately our containers should reside in servers, right? So those servers, generally we create a cluster to deploy a containerized application. We create cluster in AWS, and that cluster is nothing but a group of servers, and those servers for Fargate launch type AWS will take care, but for coming to EC2 launch type we have to maintain the servers to host the containers. So that is the main difference. And in this video, we will check how to deploy the web application which is built on .NET Framework 4.5. So the prerequisites for this video are, so let me open my notepad file. So these are the prerequisites to do this demo. First of all, we should have the image built and ready. So in the previous video, we have created one ASP.NET Web Application, and we have created the image, and we have built the image, and we ran the application, and we have tested it. That is working as expected. So you can just go through the video. There I have explained how to uh, create the Docker file and how to define our Docker file, how to build the image. So for that, you can just go through that video, and we have that image already ready with us. And the second step, we have to install AWS CLI. AWS CLI is a command line interface which we use to connect to the AWS from the command prompt. So for that purpose, you can just Google it and download from the internet the AWS CLI depending on your machine, and we need to install this AWS CLI. And the third step is we should have the access key ID and access secret key. So we use these access key ID and secret key in our command prompt to connect to our AWS service. So for that purpose, we should have the access key ID and access secret key. And we should have, I have already explained. If you want how to create this, you can just go through the video. In the video, how to connect to AWS from Visual Studio. So in that video, I have explained how to generate this from an AWS service called IAM, Identity and Access Management. So there we can create a user and the access key ID and access secret key. And these three are the prerequisites for this demo. So the steps that we are going to perform in this video are: the first step, we will create a repository in AWS ECR. ECR nothing but a Elastic Container Registry. So it is a registry of the images. So to accommodate the image, we should create a repository in ECR. So that is the first step we are going to perform. And the second step is we will copy the image. So we have the image already ready with us. In the previous video, we have built that image. So we need to copy that image to the repository that we have created in the step 1. So we need to copy that image. And the third step, we will create a cluster in AWS ECS. ECS nothing but Elastic Container Service. We will create the task definition. And in the task definition, we will use this image URI that we have copied in the step 2, and we will run the task. We will browse our application and we will test. So let us quickly start our video. So first of all, we need to create the repository in AWS ECR. So let me open my browser. So let me log into Management Console, AWS Management Console. Here we will create the repository. So to create the repository, we have to go to the service called ECR, Elastic Container Registry. So this is the ECR service. If you don't find it in the recently visited, you can search here. So here, as I have in the recently visited, I am clicking Elastic Container Registry. So as we don't have images, it is showing the home page. So you can just go through the description here. They have provided Amazon Elastic Container Registry is a fully managed container registry that makes it easy to store, manage, share, and deploy your container images. So here we can store, manage, and share our images and also deploy. So let us go click on get started to create a repository. So visibility settings, let us choose the private. Repository name, here we need to give the repository name. I'm giving my demo repository. So that's it. The other settings we will keep as is and click on create repository. Sorry, click on create repository. So successfully created repository, my demo repository. So the repository has been created successfully. Now the second step is we need to copy this image to our we have image already in our Docker desktop. So let me open my Docker desktop and show that image. So let me delete this image. This I have created in previously. So this is the image, simple web application. So we have created this image through a Docker file. In a Visual Studio, we have developed an ASP.NET Web Application in .NET Framework 4.5, and we have created the Docker file. Through the Docker file, we have built and deployed the image. This is the image, and this is the instance, which is nothing but the container. So you can just start it. I will show. But as I have shown in the previous video, you can just go through that video. I'm just going to the images. Now we need to copy this image, simple web application image, to our ECR, to our registry in the ECR repository. I'm sorry, to our repository in the ECR. So for that purpose, as I have said, we have to install AWS CLI command line interface. Once you install AWS CLI, you need to go here and search for PowerShell. In the PowerShell, please observe, don't open these things. So carefully check for this thing, PowerShell 7 within braces x64. So only from this PowerShell we are able to connect to our AWS. So that is why please kindly note this point. Right click on it and click on run as administrator. So this will open the PowerShell command prompt. So it is saying the new PowerShell stable release available. Let us ignore that. I am clicking on CLS, clears the screen. Now let us go to the repository that we have created in AWS. So this is the repository. So click on it and go into this repository. Currently we don't have any images. Now once we copy our image, we will see that image here. And to push our image from our local computer to this repository, we need to use the commands. So those commands we can get here. So if you see, this is the button view push commands. Just click on it. So it is going to here we have two commands, two sets of commands based on the operating system we are using. For Mac or Linux, we have to use these commands. For Windows, we have to use these commands. As my machine is a Windows machine, so I am going to use these commands. So as a first thing, before we run this command, we need to connect to our AWS in the PowerShell command prompt. So to connect to the AWS in the PowerShell command prompt, we need to use the command AWS configure. So here we need to provide the access key ID and access secret key. So we have that already with us. So let me open that. So you can generate that from the IAM, Identity Access Management. And I also explained in one of my videos how to generate this access key ID and access secret key. As we have already with us, we are using this. This is my access key ID. So let me paste it over here. Click on enter and go to the access secret key. So copy this access secret key and paste it over here. Click on enter. Now the default region here is asking to choose the region, as we have created our repository in ES East 1. So here if you click on this region, you can see what is the region that we are currently using, ES East 1. So if you are using any of these regions, you need to change to that region in the command prompt. So here you need to choose type that US, suppose West 2, you have to type US West 2. But for current lab, we are using this region only, so we don't need to do anything. We can just click on enter. And the output format, so it is asking whether you want the output format in YAML or JSON. So but we will go with YAML. Click on enter. That's it. Now we have connected from our PowerShell command prompt to our AWS. Now let us go to the AWS repository. Here is the repository. Again, let me click on the view push commands. Here retrieve an authentication token and authenticate your Docker client to your registry. So use AWS tools for PowerShell. So it is asking to use AWS tools for PowerShell. For that purpose, we have to install AWS CLI as I explained in the prerequisites. So just click on it. You have to use this command to connect to AWS to log into. So just paste it over here and click on enter. Now it may take a bit of time. Just wait. Once it gets connected successfully, we need to run the another command. So let me pause the video for a bit. Once it got connected, I will again unpause. Oh, okay. It login succeeded. So the second command that we are going to use is this docker build my demo repository, but we have the image which is already built. So this is the image we have already built in the previous video. So we don't use that command. The next command is docker tag. So we want to tag our repository. So let me copy this and paste it to our notepad first. So docker tag my demo repository latest to this latest. So our repository here is the name of the the name of the image in our local server is simple web application. So we need to change here to simple web application. And the version is latest. So if you say check here, the tag is latest. Sorry, the tag is latest. So we are tagging this image to this new image name. And the tag for this also we are going to give as latest. So we need to copy this and run this command in the PowerShell command prompt. Let me copy it over here and click on enter. Now as that got executed successfully, it is showing the command prompt. Now the third command we want to execute is this one. So this is the docker push. So we want to push this image to the repository. So let me copy this command and paste it over here, docker push, and I'm going to click on enter. So it is going to take time, maybe around 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, because this is a web application that we have created the image. So the push refers to the repository. Okay, right. Right. See, it is preparing, waiting. So to get all these commands complete, it may take around 5 to 10 minutes. So I'm pausing my video for a while. So later, when this is completed, I will unpause the video. So if you see it is pushing and also showing the size. So once the push is completed, I will unpause and we will continue our video. The docker push command has been completed. It took around 10 minutes of time to push the image. So we will check to in our repository whether the image is pushed or not. See, if you observe, we don't have images. So let me refresh here. I'm clicking on refresh button. No images. It has completed, right? Yeah, okay. So let me go again and refresh. See, now we have this image. Okay, it may took around a bit of time. So we have created the image, my demo repository, and this is the image. This is the repository, my demo repository. In this repository, we have copied this image. Now we need this URI, image URI in the task definition, because we have to provide the image URI, because using that image only our application will be launched in a container, right? So now the next step is we have to create a cluster. So where do we create the cluster? In Amazon ECS, Elastic Container Service. So here is Elastic Container Service. Let me open this in new tab, and we are going to create a cluster. So cluster is nothing but a group of servers to host the container. So here clusters, click on cluster. See, deploy your containerized applications, and just go through the description. Amazon ECS makes it easy to deploy, manage, and scale Docker containers, running applications, services, and batch processes. So this is the uh, purpose of this service. So let us click on the clusters. Here, let me click on create cluster. And Amazon ECS cluster groups together tasks and services and allows for shared capacity and common configurations. All of your tasks, services, and capacity must belong to a cluster. So let us give the cluster name as my demo cluster, my demo .NET cluster. Let me give .NET cluster. And the VPC, let us choose the default VPC, and the subnets we are going to choose 1A and 1B. So let me delete other subnets. So this is 1A, this is 1B. Remaining other subnets we don't want. So my demo.NET cluster, okay, and the remaining settings we will keep as is. Click on create. So it is creating cluster. My demo cluster creation is in progress. And in the meanwhile, we can create the task definition. So to create the task definition, go here. Let me open in the new window. So here task definition. Let me click on create new task definition. Task definition family. Let us give a name. My demo task definition family. And the name .NET application. So the name we have to choose .NET application. Otherwise, this is looking somewhat a big name. So let us give it as web app. Image URI. So we need to provide the image URI, that this is the image URI. From here, you can just click on this copy image, copy URI, and paste it over here. Right. And the next thing, other settings will keep as is. Protocol HTTP. Click on next button. Here we have to choose the AWS Fargate. So we want to go with the Fargate approach, serverless approach. Here, if you observe, we have two options, Amazon EC2 and Fargate, as I have explained the difference between these two things. So we are going with AWS Fargate approach, serverless approach. Serverless doesn't mean it is not having servers. It means we don't need to have to bother about the servers. AWS will take care of the management of the servers. Right, operating system. This is important. We are deploying .NET Web Application, which is built on .NET Framework 4.5, which means the old traditional application. So this is a platform dependent. So it can only run on Windows servers. So that is why here we have to choose Windows Server 2019 Core x86 underscore 64. So here we have to choose this. If it is a .NET Core application, then it is a platform independent. It can run on any OS or either Windows or Linux. So we can choose anything. But as this is a .NET traditional .NET Framework web application built on .NET Framework 4.5, we are going to choose this one. And the vCPU memory we will keep as is, and the task execution role. So we are going to select this role, ECS task execution role. So this we have already created in the IAM service. If let me go to that and I will show. So here in the IAM we have created the role. This is the role which is required to write the logs, everything. So here under roles, let me click this ECS task execution role. So this is the role that we are using. So we have to, as per the least privilege policy, we should give only the required permissions for this role, which is Amazon ECS task execution role policy. So, but for this demo, along with this role, I have given administrator access as well. But please be careful. For the production environments, we should not give administration access to the roles. We should only give the required permissions. So that is the thing, and the other settings we will keep as is, and we will click on next. So here we have, it is showing all the options that we have provided. Just go through it, and here click on create. So the task definition successfully created. If you observe the cluster creation, the cluster is also created successfully. So we have completed the two steps. The next step is we have to run the task. So we have to run the task. We have to go to the cluster that we have created. This is the cluster. So just click on it and enter into this cluster. Here we have the option under the tasks tab. We have the option to run new task. So here click on run new task. Here it is automatically showing the cluster name, and the capacity type is Fargate. We are going to choose with that. And here the task definition family, we have to choose the task definition family that we have created under task definitions. And this is the simply straightforward. I am not changing any other settings. I'll just go and click on create to run the task. So now it is going to take time. So tasks launched. So it is in provisioning state. So the states will change from provisioning to pending, and from pending to running. Generally it takes around 10 minutes of time, 10 to 15 minutes of time to get that state changed from provisioning to running. So until and unless the state gets changed to running, this is not successful. So please be careful. This state should be running. So I will pause the video here, and I will unpause once the state gets changed to running. Then once the state gets changed to running, we can browse our application and we can test our web application. So I'm pausing the video. See, now that state has been changed to pending. Previously it is in provisioning. It has now changed to pending. So it took around 3 minutes of time to get it changed to pending. Let us wait for some more time. I am pausing and I will unpause again. It's the state changes to running. So now the status has been changed to running. So it took around 12 minutes of time to get the status changing from provisioning to running. So once the status is running, it means this is successful. So we can browse and test our application. So to browse and test our application, let us go to the task. Here we will have the public IP. So here just click on open address. So it will so it is not we don't have access to show the files in the directory, but we can just browse the login.aspx page. So login page dot aspx. So this is the page, aspx page, that we have in our web application. See, now this is the web application which we are deploying, which we have deployed now through Docker container from using the service called AWS ECS Elastic Container Service by following the Fargate approach, that is serverless approach. So just give any test name. So now it will redirect to this welcome page. So in this way, we can deploy our ASP.NET traditional web applications, which is built on .NET framework, through AWS ECS by using the Fargate approach. So once we complete our lab, don't forget to delete everything, otherwise we get charged and billed. But for this lab, if you do follow these steps and do this lab, you will not get charged. You will get charged around maybe just 1 to 2 rupees, maybe that that much, very less amount. So you can just do this lab, but don't forget to delete everything. So now we are going to delete. So here we should stop this task. So let me click on this stop task. As we have tested, now we are going to delete everything. After stopping the task, we have to go to the task definition. We should delete this task definition. So go here, select this, deploy. First we need to deregister, then we have to delete. So click on deregister. Now it has got deregistered, and you can click here and have deregistered, right? Task definitions. So this is the task definition and inactive mode. So it went to inactive mode. So which means this got deleted successfully because it is in inactive mode. And also the cluster we have to delete, otherwise actions delete. So after it went into inactive mode, then only we will get this option. So go to actions, click on delete, type delete, click on delete. And the next thing, in the cluster we have to delete this cluster as well. So go to the cluster and click on delete cluster. So you have to type this delete demo cluster. So let me copy and paste it over here. Click on delete. Now this will get deleted. Along with that, we have to delete the image that we have copied. Please don't forget to delete image as well, because this will also get charged. So click on delete image. After deleting the image, we have to delete the repository as well. So let us delete the repository. Click on delete. So now we won't get charged anything. So in this way, we can deploy our ASP.NET web applications built on .NET Framework 4.5 using the Amazon service called ECS Elastic Container Service by following the approach of Fargate, which is serverless. Thank you so much, friends. Thank you so much.